Summary, Town Board of Mayor Alderman, regular meeting, Tuesday, June 24th, 2025.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if you'd like to lead us in prayer.
I want, just before I pray, let me say this. All of you are invited to our 25th anniversary of our church, the first Sunday in August. We started 25 years ago in Chapel Acres, the wedding chapel, over on Woods Road. Thank God we're not still there. But I do appreciate our city. Every Monday we have a prayer meeting in our church. We pray for our mayor, our aldermen, our police. We pray for the city, that God will bless our city. And we're thankful for Coopertown. And or some of them say Coopertown. So we love it here. And been a real blessing to us. Well, let's pray together, okay? Our Heavenly Father, we pray now that you would be with our mayor, the Board of Aldermen, and those that are here for the business of our city. I pray that you would help them. Lord, I thank you for our police, those who help us be safe. But I pray, dear God, tonight you would give them wisdom, give them understanding, and make every decision be what you would have it to be tonight. Bless our city, I pray. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Sir, what church are you with?
Providence Baptist Church, the one right over here in front of Coopertown Middle. In fact, I will tell you, when we were building our church, they were building Coopertown Middle, and we had a sign out there on the property that said, "Future Home of Providence Baptist Church." They started building that middle school, and one lady came by and said, "That's the most pretentious church building I've ever seen." That's the way it goes.
Thank you, appreciate
Yes,
that.
sir.
All right.
Alderman Mason. Alderman Hayes.
Here.
Alderman Vice Mayor Anderson. Mayor Smith.
Here. Item number 4 is approval of meeting minutes from May 20th, 2025. Motion for any discussion? Motion to approve.
We'll review the details that we have on our motion.
Have a motion?
Second.
Second. Roll, please.
Vice Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Alderman Hayes. Alderman Mason.
Yes.
Mayor Smith.
Yes. Item number 5, number 4. Have somebody on the sign in? Is anybody that forgot to sign in like to speak? Okay. Next is old business. I would like to see if anyone had a problem with this. She's got to head back to Alabama, and she's going to do a little presentation for us. Do you guys have any issues moving her up? I don't know. Okay. Introduce yourself.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor Smith, and thank you to Alderman for letting me present and moving me up on the agenda. I do have a PowerPoint here that we can walk through, but I'll first start with an introduction of who we are and what we're looking to potentially accomplish here. Retail Strategies is a firm that's based out of Birmingham, Alabama, and we work specifically with municipalities to help bring retailers and restaurants to the municipality. And we work as an extension of staff, just as your partner, really a staff augmentation model to just help bring retail. The big level principles of retail in the state of Tennessee is that it really drives your retail sales tax, it drives quality of life, and property tax. So I'd like to walk through the proposal that you have in your packet. You have the proposal and the PowerPoint in front of you to go through our process a little bit more about who we are and what we could look to accomplish in working together. So first, let me start with some history. I actually graduated from Lipscomb University and started at a company called the Shopping Center Group. It's a retail brokerage firm that's here in Nashville, and started in doing all the research and GIS for the big box retailers. So I worked with Costco, Best Buy, Dick's Sporting Goods, TJ Maxx. You think about those Target power centers and all the usual suspects that follow them. That was all the market research that I would do. So I put together maps and demographics, and they would take it to their real estate committee meetings either in Dallas or Pittsburgh, anywhere across the country, and they would make decisions if they're going to open a new location. And that was from the function of doing research for the tenant rep side at the shopping center group. So I learned a lot about the real estate process and how to really package up municipalities and sell that to the retailers. Well, when the Great Recession hit, there were several municipalities that said, we would like to learn how to get retailers to our city because they saw a dip in their budgets. And they said, how do we get our budget back up? And again, in Tennessee, very specifically being a retail sales tax state where 2.75% of all retail sales tax comes to your municipal budget, it's a great way to increase the budget and the quality of life. So I started consulting with municipalities and actually worked here with the town of Coopertown in 2009 with Mayor Childs on a partnership there. At that time, what I did was I put together just demographics and research, and we renewed those a few times back in 2010 and again in 2013. So a lot of time has passed since then, but we started with doing some maps, aerial maps and demographics to give the mayor some tools that he could go and market the town of Coopertown to some other retailers. Our company has since grown tremendously. In 2013, I moved to Birmingham, Alabama, and started Retail Strategies. And Retail Strategies has since worked with around 1,000 municipalities all over the country. Right here in Tennessee, we've worked with around 100 different communities, and we have relationships with all the retailers, the brokers, and the developers, and really all the key decision makers that decide where new retail restaurants, where they open and how they open, and we're a part of navigating that process on behalf of the municipalities. We have a lot of partnerships. ICSC is International Council of Shopping Centers, about 50,000 members that goes worldwide. I'm actually on their board of trustees. They're representing the public sector. So every major decision maker that's involved with this, I'm on the trustees. You see below that Tennessee Economic and Community Development. We've had a partnership with them over the last 8 years. And we just recently put 22 communities through a retail academy program that they have, and we actually have a sole source contract with the state of Tennessee. So some of our relationships we have, just to tell a little bit about our background, we have a team of about 70 people, office in Birmingham, Fort Worth, Atlanta, and Starkville. So moving forward, let's talk about why municipalities hire Retail Strategies. Really, it's about coming in. Every city has this need and this desire to grow their budget and just wants to know how to navigate that process, and that's where they outsource those services to us. And it really helps grow your tax base, as we've mentioned. We worked with, right now, currently, on our retail recruitment services, which is what we're talking about here today. We have several different ways we work with municipalities, but we have about 177 communities that we're working with, and we have a 4-to-1 client to staff ratio. So I think that's really important to know that we are always staffing up with the municipalities we bring on board so that you're getting that one-on-one experience where it's a true partnership, where your team, if Mayor Smith calls at any time, our team is there to help and support any request that he has. But we also go through and through all of our efforts and all of our process, we have an online project management software that we use, and we give reports of our activity. So that's an important part about our staffing. So I'll go through our process. First is about discovery, and that's really running market research and data. Then it's about connecting, and it's looking at your properties, your inventory properties, and then connecting those with the investors in the area, and then advancement. Once you get the property owner and the retailer, the developer interested, then it's about navigating that process. And after you have that interest created, it still takes anywhere from 2 to 5 years for that deal to actually come to fruition. Right now, a lot of retailers already are looking at their 2026 and 2027 expansion plans. So it takes a lot of time to get through the whole process. So first, starting with data and analytics, we invest around $200,000 a year in GIS and software, and all that is available to you throughout the entire partnership. This is a high-level summary. You can see a series of drive times and radius rings that are on the map on the left, the aerial map. And what retailers really care about is that property and proximity to the rooftops. They don't care about municipal boundaries at all. And I think that's really important when we're thinking about marketing Coopertown to these brands, is thinking about who is their potential market share. What does the traffic look like? Who can actually come and shop in that store? That's really all they're caring about, to drive up their retail sales. Every year they're just looking at same store sales and if they can hit their average annual volumes. So what I see as very positive is obviously your growth rate, which you already know, but even in, you can see in a 10-minute drive time, there's a little over 16,000 people that live in right next to I-24, exit 24. So that's about 16,000 people, and obviously you have a heavy commuter traffic that's coming and going.
Can I ask a question here?
Yes, sir.
Why are you dropping it in on Pleasantview instead of Coopertown? Because all your analytics are gonna change when you go from Coopertown as your center point.
Yes. So what retailers are gonna want is where they can capture the most store sales. So this is on the Coopertown side of I-24 is where the pin is dropped. And I dropped it there because I think that's the highest opportunity most immediately to get some wins on the retail side. And I think that's, a lot of that has to do with traffic, and a lot of it is the closest proximity to the majority of the rooftops that hit in Coopertown. So that's a great question, I'm glad you brought it up. And that really goes back to those retailers really just trying to figure out exactly where that real estate is and being invisible with municipal boundaries. They don't even really see those. So you have a very positive demographic. So even though the town has a little less than 5,000 people, you have a much larger trade area. And that's what we want to do, is use the data to use informed decisions to market the trade area. This is just an example, but one of the pieces of data we have is a mobile tracking data. So we could look how people are moving and where they're shopping, and then look at that larger region that you might be able to capture consumers. So an example of this would be, it's a larger community, but Cookeville, we worked with them for about 7 years. Cookeville proper is about 35,000 people. We were able to prove a larger trade area of about 200,000 people. We worked with a developer for about 7 years there in Cookeville on a public-private partnership and landed about a 230,000 square foot shopping center anchored by Academy Sports and Publix. So that's a good example. Tullahoma has about 23,000 people. We worked with them for about 13 years. We were able to prove that they have a trade area of about 150,000 people that actually shop in Tullahoma. We use this mobile tracking data to make a case for Tullahoma against Manchester, Winchester, and Shelbyville to show those consumer shopping patterns. Made a really strong case, and we've landed over 20 retailers there, and their retail sales tax collections have gone up. Last year over this year was up 24%. So their retail sales tax keeps going up, which is driving their budget. It's been a very positive example of how we've used data to partner with the city and land retailers. So then we want to go through and just look at all those demographics. One of those key demographics is what we call retail leakage, where people would be leaving Coopertown to buy things elsewhere. And how do we plug those holes or plug those gaps? So you have a large leakage in grocery stores and in food. So those two, restaurants and grocery is big, and general merchandise is as well. So what we do is identify, this is just an example, it's not your actual demographics, but what we want to do is look at where that retail leakage is and then make a case to the retailers. If they're to open here, they can capture that wallet share for the consumers and be profitable. And then we look at peer analysis, other communities of similar size and makeup, the retailers they have that you don't, and that helps us come up with a very realistic retail prospect list. I'd like to show just an example of a few fast food restaurants and what their average annual sales volumes are. These are just a few popular ones that are expanding all over the country and all over Tennessee right now. But 1 year, one unit will do anywhere from $1 to $2 million typically in retail sales. You can see that Chick-fil-A that everybody wants actually does a little over $9 million. So if you apply that math pretty simply, 2.75%, then you're looking at anywhere from $50,000 to $60,000 a year that's going to come in or more off of one new fast food restaurant. And the good thing is this is renewable. Every single year, that is new revenue that's coming in. And success breeds success. The more retailers you get, the more retail synergy, and the more that start to come in. So even one new fast food restaurant can create a big win. Starbucks employs about 30 people, and so you also have the jobs that come with it. Chick-fil-A, about 50 people. And a lot of these jobs are part-time, they're seasonal, and they're temporary, but they're still really good jobs that can work for high school students or temporary jobs, or even the manager positions actually pay quite well. So after we've done the data and the analytics and research, then we want to get into the real estate. So this is an example, this is Coopertown right now, the region, you can see the whole region, and this is LoopNet. LoopNet is almost like the MLS for commercial properties. Currently there's 0 sites that are marked as retail sites shown and available in LoopNet. We all know that there's a lot of property that might be very viable for new retail development here. So you have underexposed sites. So what we want to do is look at that real estate, figure out who owns it, and then work with the developer or the leasing agent to help make sure that we're properly marketing each one of those real estate sites. So it's really pairing the demographics and the real estate. So you see here the aerial map on the left with Coopertown, and then on the right I have the traffic counts. I think that's where we really want to make a strong case for you, is that as people are peeling off the interstate, then that's where you want to capture their dollars. When I did the work over, gosh, almost 12 years ago here, then the majority of that traffic was peeling off and going to Pleasant View. Now it's about equal on 49, the amount of traffic that is peeling off and going to Coopertown versus and Springfield versus the amount that's going to Pleasant View. So you can see where Pleasant View has a lot more retail brands right now that they're capturing all those sales tax dollars on. Let's work on a plan to get more of those here in Coopertown, given that the traffic counts are about the same and really the demographics are about the same. So how does our partnership work? Here's the team that would be working with you. I mentioned we have about 70 team members, but to talk about our depth of staff, then you have Mill Graves, who is the VP of the South Central region, and he works with all of our Tennessee communities as really the go-to point of contact for anything and everything you need. All the reporting, all the conversations. We're currently working with he is currently working with 19 communities here in Tennessee, just on a daily basis. That's his full-time job. He is supported by Bedford Freeman. Bedford Freeman makes outreach to all the retailers and the developers. Everyone that we think is qualified, every piece of outreach we do, we customize the package, the marketing materials we put out, and we attend several conferences all over the country, and we would represent you at all these conferences through emails, through phone calls, and everything we do with outreach. And then Ashton Rosen in the middle is our communications coordinator. So he's there as a just research support for anything they need that goes in above and beyond the typical partnership. You can see Matt Yeager here on the left is support for anything that they have. If they get overwhelmed with the amount of time or their capacity, he supports that. Elliot Cook is our director of real estate, which advises on all the real estate needs. And then these three on the bottom, they're all VPs, our COO, and our two VPs, and they all have their CCIM, which is the professional certification for our industry, and they advise the team as well. So you can see that you have a great deal of staff. I've been in the industry over 20 years, and so Mill and Bedford are your two main points of contact, and then everybody else on this slide is just here to support all of our partnerships. You get materials all throughout what we do. We start with a retail recruitment plan that's delivered to you, quarterly written reports. As I mentioned, everything is kept in Basecamp. We attend conferences and just work as staff augmentation, just any way that we can be an extension of your staff to help in development. You know, retail takes a while from the time you plant all those seeds till it comes to fruition. So I proposed a 3-year partnership that's in your packets. That 3-year partnership would be ongoing, and even one new fast food restaurant would be a positive ROI for the partnership that we proposed. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
types of businesses and the potential local sales tax revenue, things like that. Depending on how it's
That's right.
So I think this would need to be really the plan strategy and try to, particularly the interstate, get it locked down.
Yes.
Put it back.
And one thing I did not address I'd like to is we've worked with most development I'm seeing right now that's ground up is requiring public-private partnerships. So we're doing that across the board with every city we work with. Excuse me. So we've just worked extensively with the Columbia Mall on their redevelopment, that project I talked about in Cookville required a heavy incentive package. We've done some work in Clarksville on incentives. So that's a part of this package and partnership.
It's something that goes with the state offices, and the counties, and you're pulling all the resources together when it comes to something like that.
That's right, exactly. We pivot everything we know and who we are to whatever the customized needs are. So we will come up with a plan of targeted brands, that is data informed, real estate informed, and we guarantee outreach to a minimum of 30 brands as customized outreach, but typically it goes far beyond that.
What was the problem back in 2012 when you had the contract here and you didn't bring any business in?
At that time, we did not work as an extension of staff to do the recruitment on your behalf. We only provided a data package. So it's a very different model now.
Questions or anything?
What is the cost of this to the city?
The cost is $50,000 a year.
50,000 a year
Yes, ma'am.
for all inclusive.
That's right, it's all inclusive. There's no additional charges. There's no additional charges for travel or anything.
Any other questions at the table? Appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you for letting me go over this.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it, thank you.
All right. Move back to old business. 6.1. The W&M Investments request to rezone 15.05 acres in map 111, parcel 132, Woods Road, Old Coopertown Road, from agricultural to residential. Second reading of ordinance 2025-002. Motion to move for discussion. Second. So this is the map that's in there, we talked about it last month. Discussed the bridge conversation as well last time.
Yeah, you weren't here last month, but we did have a preliminary last month.
That's all. I'm sorry, I was referring to that.
And we take the building issues.
Yeah, one goes back to how many that was. Down to 8 houses. Further discussion?
Not the motion we approved.
Motion?
So,
Second.
Yes.
No.
yes.
6.2, amend the zoning ordinance section 3.03 regarding shared driveways. Second reading, hearing notice 2025-009. This change, correct, Vicki? Everything's the same, nothing. Obviously, from last time, this is allowing shared driveways, but they have to have a maintenance agreement in place and recorded.
And this, the
5 homes, or how many homes on the street road?
So it's 3, in which you have 4 that goes into, some of the regulations. I'm sorry, but the motion open for discussion.
Robert, I think you're getting the 5 farmhouse cluster and the shared driveway for the people to do their own. So this one is the shared driveway.
This one is the 3 homes on it.
You want to go to 4 here or something. Unless it falls under the 5 farmhouse.
Then it allows them to do that maintenance agreement.
This is the 3 homes.
Rear lights.
And it's changed to one residence on the driveway.
And the maintenance agreement, being attached.
You can already have 2 on there,
Adding one and then adding that requirement that there's something recorded. Any other discussion? If not, motion to approve. Motion to approve. Second. Vote please.
Alderman Hoops. Alderman Mason.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Mayor Smith.
Yes. Right, and on to new business, 7.1. Trash rock rezoning of 4.84 acres on Highway 49, west map 111. Going from ag to rural residential. This is the first reading of ordinance 2025-005, and this has the map. We'll make a motion to open discussion. Anyone here represent?
I'm here in, I have a surveyor send us people the same information. None of it's in the floodplain, but this is, I have to take the maps, if you understand, just for, change sense. And, we'd like to build 2 houses on the, 184 acres.
I'll be honest with you, I have concerns regardless of what the FEMA map says. Your septic area on lot 1, I have personally seen underwater multiple times.
Sir?
I said, your septic area on lot 1, I have personally seen that underwater multiple times. So I do have concern regardless of what the FEMA map says. Water has been in that bottom multiple times. Right where your septic area is.
Well, as you can see, there's a drain there, so I'm not sure where the water is coming from. I've never seen any water there. And,
If I'm not mistaken, the same zoning came up 2 years ago. 2 years ago. That was, they wanted 4 homes on it at that time, and that was the same issue then, was if you lived here long enough, you had city water there. I know Robert Ellison water there. And that's the concern that I have with lot 1. To be quite frank with you.
well, there's plenty of good soil there, so the soil map can be moved. That's not a big deal. Like I say, it approved soil for 4 houses already. So the soil's not an issue. Again, I've never seen it flood. They've got soil maps here. So it's got plenty of good soil to move soil area. So we picked that soil area because that's where we're free there for the house.
saying here, you got a septic system right down there at the creek. So, where you got the septic system, running right here, running down there at the creek.
It looks, I don't know the distance between.
Well, that's not look, but this thing's upside down, it's at the creek. I know the creek gets up there.
Like I say, I've never seen it,
It's an option to do for the septic here, I don't know, the house on this, constructed.
Or for room for a boat sale one here, or nothing now. Well, just change location of the house, put your septic.
Well, it's showing the septic there, but it's not showing the house over there. It's gonna be up toward the middle of the lot, back of the lot, or down toward the septic area. I'm sure it's gonna be close to the septic area.
so probably middle of each lot.
Would a homeowner that has one of these homes, would they have a recourse on the city, do it for road, if they got flooded?
Flooded, well, it's not FEMA, so I don't know that they have restriction on that. If they put a home there and it's got recourse, or I'm sorry, and it floods from the creek, I mean, the septic area, if it does flood there, that's an issue, even if it's not FEMA. I don't know if TDEC has gone out and looked at the site, or anybody has gone out and actually looked at it, I guess. They perked the land, that's what it's about. But I mean, did they take into consideration the creek being there and potential flood? Drainage issues?
I've never seen it underwater, this gentleman has, the property.
I used to have to walk across the creek, get to the bar and all that, so I know how the creek gets up.
Which side are you on? On my side or the other side?
Well, I'm over on Wood Road. That's what you're talking about.
I don't know.
No, it's back of our.
Oh, the back part is right on the other side of where the septic system is laid out at. There used to be a part there, I don't know if it's still there or not.
So if this were to be approved, could, it goes back to planning, I'm gonna ask you the question, it goes back to planning committee, if it was approved, is there a, I'm assuming there could be a requirement that there is some additional testing to be done, you know, to make sure that.
Based on Coopertown's floodplain ordinance, and this is FEMA's ordinance that we have to adopt. In number 9, standards for unmapped streams, which this is an unmapped stream, there's no flood area identified. The only requirement is that you cannot put fill material or develop closer than twice the width of the creek. So if that creek is 50 feet wide from top to top, then you would have to build in 100 feet onto the lot, away from that creek.
That would be
So
the structure.
That would be the structure.
Not
Any
the septic
structure.
system. Okay.
Correct. The septic system has to pass through TDEC, and that's part of the platting process. So if TDEC knows there's any chance of flooding, they're not gonna want the septic system in that flood area. But of course, there's no FEMA identified flood area, so
Is there any way Cooktown be held liable again if this thing flooded and the homeowner wanted to sue Cooktown for letting them build in that area?
no, because we are going by our flood ordinance, and that's a federal law. So no, we don't have liability if we follow the ordinance.
TDEC will take responsibility for the septic system.
It could come back on the builder possibly, but not the town, because all we can do is follow the ordinance. If there's a chance of flooding, I as a builder would probably say, I wanna move it up a little bit further from the creek. You could even elevate the house.
Build it, do it after septic system.
No, but I would definitely want that moved.
we
And if
can,
the soils are good, there should be a reason why.
and if it's approved, planning
Right.
committee, it's part of the plat process, we could
Right.
require that.
TDEC would have to sign off on it.
Okay, so we do have some protection, even without liability, but if
Yeah.
it's approved, it goes back to the planning committee, they make it required. Okay.
It could be a condition.
Could be a condition
approval
that TDEC would have
That
to-
you want that moved to the front, maybe of the lot instead, if there's, or the side.
That would be the concern, is getting I mean, if this were to pass, you know, then the planning committee would be a requirement condition that TDEC would have to do something to approve on it, sign off on it. Because the subject area would be a concern, obviously. Even in my opinion, now, the house, if it's covered under an ordinance, septic system, I wanna make sure TDEC, that would be a condition, in my opinion, if that's what we do. Discussion.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out, this came before us last month. And I made a motion to approve it, but died for lack of a second.
Right.
So it's back before us this month with the.
Yeah. How would we word that? Would we do it if it's approved, as conditioned back to the planning committee? Is that how?
It automatically goes to the planning
And then
commission.
that's where the conditions are placed.
Right. The authority is with the planning commission for plating.
Okay. Any comments, questions? If not, we have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve. I did last month, but I'll do it again this month. Got some safeguards built in now that we didn't have last month.
I'll second.
Alderman Mason,
Yes.
Alderman Hayes,
No.
Vice Mayor Anderson,
No.
Mayor Smith,
No. Okay, 7.3, resolution to authorize the town mayor to execute the renewal of the 911 interlocal dispatch agreement, resolution 2025-009. 7.3,
That's just a housekeeping measure,
it is, I did do some analysis that's in here behind this that kind of shows, I'm sorry, the emotion of it.
right? Second.
Okay, so anyway, this is, it's something that's done every year, and it's the ordinance allows us to have a number of contract. I've done some analysis behind it. It kind of shows their budget and the amount paid, kind of how they come up with the calculation for the different towns. It's based on the percentage of population and the percentage of calls by each municipality. And if you look at the graph, basically, we're paying 3.74% of the total budget. And we have 1.84% of the calls and 5.64% of the population. Obviously, you see the other communities, Roberts County pays the most, White House is accordingly.
And we have no other option.
No.
Okay, this is approved.
Okay, motion approved. Second. I'll second. Now, I will say one thing about this, I'm gonna pull that back up a second. The county mayor has reached out and has asked us to be part of the committee. Now, this committee, as I understand, is not going to be part of the board, but it is a part of the committee that will begin to help address the radio, traffic radio calls, the cost of that, and things like that. So, I went to the board meeting last month, just trying to get introduced to how all that works, and, Mayor has, seen on the pool, Rebecca tried to push that as well. Maybe over time, that's something we can continue to.
Is E91 a private entity? Okay, so it's part of the county. Who decides who sits on that board? If it's a county entity, who decides who sits on the board? So E911 is a private entity, or is it a?
I don't know if it's necessarily private, sir. I know it's its own thing.
It's government.
It's government, but I don't think it's necessarily governed by the county per se.
I'm sorry,
I have
could you
to-
come to the doorway and speak?
Yeah, I would have to, what we could do is, I could get with them and read their bylaws and see kind of how they're organized, and then I can get back with you guys next month on that answer. I don't know off the top of my head, I just don't know, I don't think they're controlled necessarily, because the county pays into dispatch. When they pay X amount of dollars, into the 911 system, so I'm not so sure that they would charge for themselves if they were governed by the county. So I don't really know, but I can find out that for you.
The county
And
is
as far as
at all.
And as far as their bylaws, it may be in their bylaws in their committee that, these types of members are the commissioners that sit on that board. For example, the White House Police Chief, is on that, the sheriff, the EMA director, a couple citizens, the former Springfield, police chief. There's people in the community, North Robertson Fire Chief sits on that.
So you have four, so like the White House, but we're not represented at all.
So you can say,
You have four like the White House, and we're not represented at all.
we don't, correct, we don't have any representation currently, unless there's a random citizen, which I don't think there is, that sits on our board, that sits in our county on the board. I know when Becca was mayor, we ran into the same issue, same thing with Jeff, we just don't have any representation on it. The 911 thing, he's talking about the new 911 radio, or user group committee, that is 100% for radios. So we've got this new nice $7 million in total radio system. So now we have to figure out who's going to maintain it, who's going to care for it, who's going to pay. So Mayor Vogel created a 911 user group committee, and sent an email message to all the mayors saying, hey, we want you to be a part. Anyone paying into this, we want you to be a part of this committee. But it's only really just about the care and the maintenance, the routine, and moving forward with the mobile roles.
Well, I guess what we need to ask you to do is find out how you secure a seat on the board. How those people are picked.
They wouldn't give us one.
We tried to
Try to get on the board.
Yeah.
With less than anything we would say.
Correct. There's not been a legit answer given up to this point.
That's
I
fine.
will.
Same people,
No, yeah.
Same group.
I will do some research and see if I can get an answer. If I can't, I'll come back to you guys next month.
Even if it's, y'all are out of luck.
Yeah, maybe they'll give us a, but I will do that before we reconvene this.
This is something that we do have to.
We got no choice.
I apologize for jumping on the motions. We have a motion to table. We have a second.
Yes. You got it.
Made a motion.
I did.
And I second.
Very good.
Vice Mayor Anderson,
No.
Alderman Mays,
Yes.
Alderman Mason,
Yes.
Mayor Smith.
Okay, 7.4. Ordinance to amend ordinance 2023-005 to establish reasonable court cost, first reading ordinance 2025. All right, motion for discussion. Second. So what this is, we're raising the court cost $1. The state of Tennessee has allowed us to increase it by $1, and we're just about to.
Well, my question is, we're raising it $1, but our judge the last few times is not charging court costs. Also $150 and I'm gonna charge $4. Why?
I don't have an answer to that.
You think it's doing me a favor?
This is last court session we had, that took place.
And the time before I.
If we're not gonna impose court costs, what about raising the dollar? I mean, if I raise it $1, he's releasing, I mean, we're going to hold for what we're working on.
So, the dollar issue, the state just came out and passed the law that all court costs needs to go up $1 because it helps support the fee for the judge and the city clerk, which obviously the court clerk is run for their court clerks conference, for the judge and the court clerk. So the reason you're getting this ordinance is because the state says, hey, we want $1 more, so here we have to, I mean, this ordinance.
So I have no issue
This is
with $1
so
more.
crazy.
I have no issue with $1 more. My question is, even if we raise it $1 more, if the judge is not charging court costs, we're spinning our wheels.
Well, I will tell you this, there's a whole lot more court costs charged than there are not. If you come in and we can't control what the judge does, but I will tell you there's a whole lot more court costs that are charged than there are not. He does sometimes do that though, depending on their history, depending on if they pled, how they pled. I mean, it's circumstantial. I really do think it's circumstantial. There's no rules that he has to follow necessarily. But sometimes he'll do fine, sometimes he'll do court costs with no fine, and there's a lot of ways.
Your times are ready to do school and no fine and no court cost.
Yeah,
Now,
there's
percent
just-
of people in the room.
Yeah, I mean, but I will tell you there's a whole lot that do pay court costs.
So the state sets what the base or what the maximum court cost is.
They do, yeah. So you have a maximum, but it's depending on, okay, they go off the judge's salary, they go off how much money, so it's a formula, the judge's salary, how much money it costs to run our inside program. All that goes into a huge formula, kind of like the 911 contract, and it pops out a number. Well, that pops out number is the court cost, but we're just having to add $1 because the state passed that law that says they want $1. They want $1 more out of every ticket for the judges and the court clerks. So in order to follow that, we have to amend this ordinance to make sure we're in compliance with the state law.
They can't actually go with the dollar.
Right, but then
We can't say what we have to do,
but then
because
we're
the
gonna
state says it.
We're gonna write them a check for, so if we write 1,000
And where's
tickets,
that dollar going to? Yeah, you said that earlier. What?
it's going to the court clerks and for judges. For like their,
It goes to a fund.
their annual conference.
Well, I wanna know what the fund is for.
Yeah, it's their conference or their training, their conference, that kind of thing. But if we don't do this, then they're gonna charge us if let's say it's $1,000.
We're gonna pay the dollar.
We're gonna pay $1. Yeah.
We're gonna pay the dollar.
So if he doesn't make them pay court costs, then I still gotta pay that $1. If the
Yes.
judge doesn't make them pay court costs.
No, if they don't pay court costs, then it's just a fine, which is usually $50. But he doesn't do that a whole lot, I will tell you that, I'm pretty much here every court, he doesn't do a whole lot of, we won't pay court costs. It does happen, I'm not gonna lie to you, it does happen, but it's not all the time.
This says to establish reasonable court costs. Do we have a reasonable court cost?
We do. It's compared to other agencies around us. Some court costs are a whole lot more than ours, some are triple our court costs, right? We're a small municipality, like I said, it goes into the judge's salary, judge's training, the e-sites, the equipment, the paper, all that's put into a formula, and that's how we get the court costs.
How much training does the judge need to be a judge?
A lot. I mean, because rules are constantly changing, laws are constantly changing, so if he does something
They gotta
wrong.
pass the law.
Yeah, so if he does something wrong, he'll come back and bite us in the butt. So we wanna make sure our people, are well trained. It's worth that extra $1, I promise.
We have a judge in the audience here, so she can see it.
Takes a lot.
It's a lot of work, and, yeah, she's such a judge. She knows exactly what I'm talking about, but it does. We wanna make sure that they're, just like our police officers, we spend a lot of money in their training. but we do that for a purpose, and that's to keep us safe and keep them safe. And that's what we want our judge will train our clerks, our officers, that it's worth their safety.
So we're gonna pay this extra dollar one way or the other?
One way or the
So
other.
why should we not pass it on to the?
Exactly. Yes, that's why we're here tonight, Lily.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion approved. I second.
Alderman Mason,
Yes.
Alderman Days,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Anderson,
Yes, reluctantly.
Mayor Smith. That's
Alright. One is the bank balance report, accurate, along with the financial percentage report.
I sure like this song.
See the general fund, we're in good shape on our expenses and we're going above our income. We're below on our expense, something coming over in the fiscal year. Any questions from you guys? Okay, move on to the CRS summary. It's pretty much fairly consistent. 2025, same amount. A lot of that's again back to the old stuff that's still hanging out there.
Some of that was being related off for violations for not collecting the fund. Or some other.
Is that to get off? Is it 10 years?
10 years?
Yeah, 10 years. Move into the citation and police report. Chief, you'd like to talk?
Yes.
We have a second.
Can you move on to the fire, and I do have a fire?
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna do the street names. Street department?
So we got our truck back finally from Reading.
Hey, Jay, Don, could you stand up here? Give up the lane, they can't see you when you're talking. If you would.
We got our truck back from Reading. It's payable in town, so I have to get back the rest of the money from insurance, pay off the stuff. Started digging ditches in the dry now, so we started up on South Walker Hill, very top of the hill today. It was starting to run out into the road. So we've got that ditched out and lay fabric and rock it tomorrow.
Trailer back.
Got a new trailer in. Better than the last one.
Look like it's been inside.
Tomorrow night, we're gonna have kind of a follow-up infrastructure meeting, everybody needs to do one, it's really kind of, I'm gonna present the, kind of spreadsheet plan, long-term, we gotta map out the miles, and ditches and things like that, and really start to dig into grading the improvements that we're doing, so that's gonna be kind of kicking off tomorrow. Out in the middle of the ones, that will begin that process, so.
I told them on, Wilson Road, at the end of Backman Hall, to the left, to the corner of the house. It looks like water is bubbling up the road again, like a lot of road season. You come all the way up to the junction. With the stop sign, turn red, like you're going 49. Yeah, but in front of Paradise Farm. It's right down here, you know, the water line, all the farm.
Just, I mean, all the water, though.
And who's it? water without our wood road. That's exactly what Chicago water was.
Anytime we had that wood road, kept running it up, it just groundwater.
Well, none of that's fine.
You know, building up the asphalt. They said there's groundwater, but they fixed it 3 times. Building up with pipe.
Anything else? Over, John?
I'd like to see it go out and go behind the school, then we'll let it wash out. And back on Western Road. Behind the school, you know, we talked about that, where you need to cut that kid, look like somebody's house and burn it up.
Evidently, the town did that years ago. And I was told by the property owner that he appreciates having that dirt there, which is what is running off into the road, which I'm trying to explain to them before. I was told I was wrong.
There's a lot of the dirt right away.
Absolutely.
And we got some right away.
Have obligation.
Well, the fire department, then we'll come back to the police, fire department. Reports are back. Yeah, oh yeah, thank you. I did sign the contract, it was executed, so that's nice.
How many years
So
was
it's
it?
5.
And then, they're gonna look at the, something else, in like 1 or 2 years.
So the question is, if it exceeds, 3% over 2 or more, 2 years, then it would be reviewed. But you have to go for 2 years before that would be discussion. Okay, chief, you.
Yeah. Ms. Kelly's gonna work on that for me. All right. I know that the vote has already been cast, but I just got some answers. I talked to Rachel. I'm on the phone with her now, which is the director of dispatch. So, according to her, the 911 is literally on an island by themselves. They are governed by emergency services, by E911. They are not part of the county. They do have bylaws that, and if you charter, if you will, for 911, and then the county commissioners for the county determine who sits and what roles and responsibilities that people have that sit on the 911 have. So the county commissioners are the ones who choose who sits on the 911 and they're not on their own.
So it's exactly like DNA airport and NES electrical. They're both government entities, but they're governed by their own board.
That's correct, yes. Does that answer the questions y'all had? So, just make sure.
Yeah, no, that's good, I appreciate it.
Okay.
That needs to get to the county commissioners.
Right. That's who you. Alright, cool. May activity, we had a lot going on, oh my god. 26 incident reports, 6 traffic crashes, we had 1 use of force because someone decided to, run into Nashville and not stop the car. 3 domestic related incidents, 2 drug incidents, 15 felony arrests, 28 misdemeanor arrests. We had a total of 81 traffic stops with 62 city citations written, not to mention the state cites that go to general sessions. We responded to a total of 14 traffic crashes, but yet again, we worked 6 of them. A lot of times, if there's serious injuries or if they're fatals, Highway Patrol will take that for us. We did have a few vehicle searches. Under the seizures, we seized 1.17 grams of meth, 48 grams of cocaine, 24 grams of fentanyl, from a traffic stop. Miscellaneous drug paraphernalia, we did seize a 2011 Buick Enclave that was transporting the drugs, $1,034, and then a Glock 43X firearm. That is in the process of going to the state, and we'll figure out what to do with all that later. I just want to let you guys know that's what we have right now in our seizures. See here, under the monthly case summary, we had several people who always drive unsuspended revoked, don't have a license at all. 5 simple possessions, 3 drug paraphernalias, 1 domestic assault, 1 aggravated stalking, 2 harassments, 1 DUI, 1 evading arrest. That's where a lot of those seizures and the felony charges came from. Interlock device, tampering with evidence, 2 reckless endangerment, reckless driving, possession of firearm while committing a felony, possession of firearm by convicted felon, multiple violation of bond conditions, violation of protection, we had a DOA, which is a death, 1 burglary, a couple of MORs that you see there, those are just in-house reports, if you will. And then we had a hit and run accident, and we towed the vehicle as it was abandoned. So the month of May was very busy for 4 police officers. Not only did we have all that going on, but we still issued 62 citations, which in my opinion, that's fantastic. So we got a lot going on. Miss Camp, Teresa Camp, we just hired her about a month and a half ago. She starts the academy July 6th. We also have some interviews, for some executive interviews coming up this week. So hopefully we'll get back with that soon. We have another 7. Kevin's playing video. We have room for 7 police officers in total from the chief down. We currently have 5 field, 4 on the road, 1 to the academy, 2 open spots, and 1 interview tomorrow morning. So hopefully by a few more months down the road, we'll be back to work.
How often do you search warrants?
Ooh, maybe once every couple months. Most of our search warrants are DUI search warrants.
Do you have to give a sign after hours?
We can. We call the general sessions judge, and he's always one to help us out. There's also a judge here.
Yes.
But yeah, Judge Perry.
That's why you're here.
Judge Perry does a great job, 24/7, 365. He's always been really good to us and helps us out with after hours. You don't mind me asking where you go to that?
Chancery Court, Robertson.
Here. Okay. Very cool. Very good. Very good. If you would just turn your attention to the screen.
I don't know that it's working.
Oh, okay.
Looks like it's shipwrecked.
Hey, IT, will you help her? I'll go ahead and just preface this video with, we put together a community engagement video for you guys. It's got a lot of interaction that you see. I always tell you guys that we're out there engaging with the community, but I want you guys to see, some of you donate to our Shop with the Cop program, some of you volunteer and come help out with a lot of things. So I kind of wanted you all to see a video of what your money goes to, what your donations go to, what your heart goes to, what your prayers go to, and actually see us interact with the citizens of this town. So as soon as they figure that out, it's just a few minutes long.
Well, I'd like to let everyone know that I got a call this week from the chief as well. I don't know if you're able to speak with him or not, but a guy out of Georgia called, and I thought it was going to be a complaint, which was a good call. It's a really nice call. His daughter was coming through during the heavy rains here and hit a pothole with a tire, and our police department came on the scene, said that it was the officer, and he went above and beyond to help. She had some smaller children in the car, and he changed the tire for her out in the pouring down rain, and he was very complimentary of our police department. So I would like to thank you, and so make sure we pass that along to him if he's not aware. So very much appreciated.
Thank you very much. You get it working? All right, cool. Here's just a snippet of what we do.
Welcome to town and all of our today we
Planning committee training is in July, so next planning committee session will be training. So if you're on the committee, but everyone's welcome to attend as well. Kind of learn how that updates and things like that. And it'll be really good to learn as we continue to develop and evolve. There's questions, the answer there. The zip code, I made one last piece, and I'm getting ready to submit that to the Postal Service and the other parties that involved in that decision-making process, and kind of see where it goes. So we do have some strong support, and what is to submit. The other big one is the water issue. So there's been some back and forth over the past week today. It's very good and it's been Brian Martin tomorrow briefly to discuss the proposed options that Springfield has offered, and as well as East Montgomery. And I'm meeting with East Montgomery on Monday, just as kind of a quick meeting with them. But the board meeting with East Montgomery is July 14th. If you guys would, anyone would like to attend, you're welcome to go to the office at 41A and to discuss. And that's slated that we will be discussing and move to them or any options that we can today. The options for Springfield at this point in time, we passed the ordinance last year, we became aware of from the county that water will be suspended for new taps and whatnot for May 1st of next year. The options are basically do nothing and everything is kind of suspended and everybody goes on to future wells if they want to build a house or do a business. That's not a good option. The other option is that we pursue something else, you know, with different utility districts such as East Montgomery or whatever. The issue is going to be is the infrastructure. My understanding is that the infrastructure had some grants that was in the 70s. There's been no price set on the infrastructure, on improving the processing itself that I want to discuss with them. And technically, those two have to probably work it out, and I would want to make sure we move on. Another option is we start our water department, and buy the infrastructure and they'll sell us water. That is not a good option, I think, either, because I think that we're not ready for that. Then another option was discussed, kind of pitched out there today, and it's a little bit more involved. There's pieces of it I'm not opposed to per se, it's for us to discuss later, but there's pieces of it like direction more. And the narrow, the good and bad of it is that they want a 20-year plan from us. They will sell us water based on a 20-year projection, and we participate in the infrastructure of the water line down 257. I understand that 257 line's been discussed for a long time. If there's participation in infrastructure from the city, that's a conversation that we can have and need more information on that. But that's kind of where it's at this point. It will get resolved one way or another, in my opinion. So I'm very optimistic about that. I just don't know which direction it's going to be and any potential cost to the town for that. And if so, it would be something that we would just have to figure out rate structure. Things like that. So that's kind of where it's at. But if you guys would like to attend the July meeting, if you're looking at it, there would be a lot more to come on that. One last thing is, I got some calls during 2 weeks ago, Chief is one. And I know we've talked about, my understanding as we discussed the noise ordinance in the past. I don't want to get too deep into it today, but there were some complaints that was raised about it. A couple incidents, Oak Point, one on the other side of town, and I think that get some support to address the issue. And what I'd like to do in the future here is to review what was done, discussed in the past, look at other ordinances, because if we go down that path of doing it, I want to make sure that we address any issues for the rural community, the farmers, and things like that. Have some exceptions in there, maybe have some ways we can have a permit for an event at your house or something that the city knows about it and kind of keeps people a little bit more at peace. And just be reasonable with it, and make it a misdemeanor or something else, from what I understand, based on the state law. So I want to open that up at some point to discuss and get everyone's feedback on that. I understand that there was issues in the past with it, but I want to understand, get a dialogue around that. But whatever that needs to be fair, at least there's different parts of the town.
Problem with ordinance is it's subjective. If the noise is not there when someone's there to test it, are we testing the decibel levels? I mean, if you don't test the decibel levels, it's just subjective. What's allowed for you may not be allowed for you. So it's radical right there.
That's really an officer discretion.
We don't need that.
But again, it's subjective.
It is subjective, that's why we got the police. they have to make those.
Well, I wouldn't be willing to open that can of worms, we've been down that road before. No, sir, no way. What was noise? Was it fireworks, was it gunfire, was it music? What was the complaint? Music. Was it at one of the B&Bs?
One was a party that was, the public was notified, and it went on, and got a little louder than what the citizens preferred. But again, I'm bringing this only because if there is a way to be reasonable, and obviously you can get the chief in here and talk more about it, I'm more than I will, but not, I'm just, but I think it's gonna be something where you have the rural part and you have the neighborhood. And if you have neighborhoods that people are obnoxious, let's just call it that, and there's no way that we can enforce it in a reasonable. It's my understanding with the current law, if you go out there and almost like a bus now, the state, where I would be more willing to say, okay, knock it off, go home, keep it up, please come back, now you're gonna get an misdemeanor, which we can bring it to our court, and we get revenue from, right now we don't get into that. I don't want noise ordinances to be something that people think a whole lot about, but I think there has to be something to consider that allows, for example, farming, okay? Tractors, if it's customary and normal, that's not an issue, okay?
But the thing is, anybody's farm has cut beans and corn, it's 1, 2 o'clock in the morning.
And
You gotta do it when it's dry.
I would have no issue with that.
But a lot of people who are just moving here do have issues with it.
That's where the ordinance would come.
And that's where you complain from the daylight village.
I have had complaints on the farm, I have complaints on music and noise.
Well, why can't they go out there? Hey, they live in my place when we go to North Carolina for 800 years now. We don't want to come back. The music goes down. If they come back, the party goes on.
If I'm not mistaken, you've already got authority to, arrest or give a state citation to someone for a noise ordinance.
So
If we passed an ordinance here, and it didn't come to our court, which would basically be a civil action, not a criminal action.
yeah, you're absolutely right. We do, if we get a noise complaint, for example, one of the ones he's talking about most recent, they called 911, she got a little kid, she's wanting to go to bed.
Call 911.
Yeah, call 911. Sometimes they call 911 if they don't know the non-emergency number. And, what came in as a fight, okay, so I mean, that's what it came in as, that's what she thought it was, because there was a bunch of people screaming, it was a party, a lot going on, so she thought some people were fighting. So I show up, and I talk to them and say, hey, they were wanting to go to 11. I said, well, we don't have a noise ordinance, and it was probably in the 10 o'clock, 10:05 hour. And I said, hey, if you're gonna go to 11, cut it off at 11, be done. And I kid you not, at 11 p.m. on the dot, they were done. They were out of there, done on the spot. We went there and said, hey, this is the time, let's be good to our neighbors, let them sleep, that kind of thing. So they were all understanding. What this ordinance does is, like the Alderman said, is it allows us to start on the civil aspect of it, saying, hey, here's your warning, but now, since you don't want to abide by that warning, we're going to issue a city ordinance violation. Then they will come in front of our judge. Right now, there is a disorderly conduct clause that does allow if someone is, what's the word I'm looking for, sorry, partner?
If we're creating an atmosphere.
There you go.
Carrying on lawful activities, that's disorderly conduct.
Yeah, so that would be a state site or arrest into general sessions. Our goal and our objective is to get it into city court, handle it here. We can already do it, but we can bring it here and handle it in-house, and then we would get proceeds for that.
And if it comes here, it does not go on their criminal record.
Correct, yeah, so it's actually helping the community, not harming the community. And what we've proposed is, hey, look, farming, agriculture, that's out of the picture. We're not gonna worry if you're calling out at 3 a.m. That's not what this is for. This is for the parties going on up until midnight, 1 in the morning. This is for the guy on the really loud motorcycle with the muffler going up down Oak Point Road or Battle Creek, just wailing as loud as he could. We do. But this gives us an opportunity to say, hey, look, we have an ordinance, we're gonna stop this. And it's in court, it is a defense. If we, let's say we state cite someone in the general sessions for disorderly conduct, the defense has an argument because they're gonna come and say, well, yeah, you can do state law, but why would you not have a city ordinance and start there? So the defense has a defense. And so we don't really like that on the prosecutor side or the police officer side. We want to be able to be like, hey, this is how we do it. This is what's going on. We give them a warning. We put them in city site. They didn't want to listen to the city. So now we're putting them into our session. So it gives a timeline of their conduct. We don't want to go straight into state citing people for disorderly conduct. We want an opportunity to be able to give that warning, get them into city court, let them speak to Judge Kroger. And then if they don't want to abide by that, then we'll escalate it to general sessions.
How many barking dog complaints do you get?
We get a few. We currently have an animal ordinance for barking dogs. We also have a fireworks ordinance. So fireworks would fall under the fireworks ordinance. The dog would actually fall under the current animal ordinance we have now. And this would be for loud parties and people just causing a lot of ruckus at 1 or 2 or 3 in the morning. Like you said, agriculture, and we're not worried about that. We're not worried about the combine. That's not what this is for at all whatsoever. And the officers have discretion. They'll use their judgment. They'll use their best judgment. And it is usually typically, once we go out there and make contact, hey, knock it off. 9 times out of 10, they knock it off.
Well, then leave it like that.
Well, then you have that other too. But it is broke because it's not 100%. If we had 100% compliance, I think you would be okay.
Well, you have that option to take them home to jail.
Well, we don't want to do that. The judge right here will tell you that we don't want to take people to jail for that under the disorderly conduct law. Because disorderly conduct is an OR violation. It's an OR bond anyway. So pretty much, I mean, every commissioner I've ever dealt with on disorderly is an OR bond, which means they're released of their cognizance. So they're gone, and they come back, and they can do it again. So we just want to be able to start low and then work our way up, rather than just going straight in there with the nail in the coffin, saying, hey, now you have a criminal charge versus, hey, we could have handled this.
I think if we're going, again, I'm bringing this back up because it's also, if it's a defense that we don't want government intrusion and things like that. What I'm understanding is this is an easier way to not be so intrusive because you're not going straight from kill and arresting them. We're bringing them into our court system and the warnings, and you got these exceptions that are built into this. That's what I would want to see.
And that's a baby step before you take the whole step.
Well, you brought up the thing about when the dead at your home or on your farm. You don't know that business farm will have on my farm.
You don't have to come and ask for permission. What that does allow you to do though is to come to the city hall and say, hey, I'm going to have this in my house. So the town's aware, it can publicize itself and bless that time that you're going to have. Then when these complaints come in, the city's already aware of it. Like, hey, they've already come and they've notified the city. You don't have to notify the city at all. It just allows you a little bit of leverage with the city to say, hey, we understand there's going to be people there from 5 to 10 or 5 to 11, and we're aware of that. Therefore, kind of move on.
So they're not coming out then.
They're not coming out unless there's something like a fight or something. That's a whole
Yeah, it depends on dispatch information.
Yeah.
If someone says a group of people are fighting, we're not.
But
You
you
have a
have,
call, they may ride by and roll the
Yeah.
window down and see.
that's just a suggestion to help ease this. And again, I don't,
It's not so
I'm
hard.
open for discussion on it, but I mean, this isn't.
It'd be hard on them if they listen the first time.
Well, I agree, Robert. Not everyone listens to
Well,
this. I wish to God that was the case. There would be no need for
They're
comments.
making it hard on themselves, so we don't have to pass a law to try and be easy for someone. We have too many laws now.
It's not how it works. It's not how it works. We
Trying
gotta
to
be able
build,
to start.
trying to build a
and
little
work
bit of
our
law
way
in there
up.
to ease the concerns of the farmers and things like that as well, but also allowing for the neighborhoods and these issues to have a little bit more leverage and some forgiveness all at the same time in this kind of an ordinance where if the city's already aware of it, they wanna come up here and say, I'm gonna do this, good, fine. They know about it, it's done. Or if there's an issue, then you can go out and go through a lower process to get to the higher process. To me, that's pulling away something by creating a law, rather than going straight in before something gets hard.
And we can write the exceptions into the ordinance, like agriculture, those types of things.
We've been working on it, and I think it's probably like, what, 4 or 5 pages? I mean, it's not just, hey, you created noise at 1 AM, you're getting a ticket. It's a very thought out noise ordinance, that spells out those exceptions.
But if you open this up for conversation, I do want to engage in this too, if there's issues or things that we're not thinking about. But I want to address farming, I also want to address the just to try and make sure that we can do it the right way. And I understand we don't need more laws, I respect that very much. But if there's a way to, honestly, make it a little bit less burdensome on the individual, maybe they get this stuff on them and not be brought into a criminal activity. That is a good solution.
You're fixing to be covered up with them anyway because of fire.
Yeah, well, and then there's exceptions on the fire ordinance, and those exceptions. And the biggest thing we saw was when I went out there, that one of the first things they told me was there's no noise ordinance. They actually called up here, they alleged they called up here, and they were told there wasn't one. So when we show up, they're like, well, there's no noise ordinance. It's not common knowledge about TCA disorderly conduct. It's not a common knowledge thing. But if they took the opportunity to call up here before their event and said, hey, would this violate any of your city's rules and regulations? And we say, well, here's our noise ordinance. I think they'd be more apt to follow that rather than, hey, no, there's not one. Now they think they can just go to 1 or 2 in the morning. I think it would give us an opportunity to say, hey, here's our noise ordinance, abide by it. And I think that would give us a lot better outcome than, because it's not general knowledge that I would say most people don't know that they could get a state side or go to jail for disorderly conduct if they're playing music at 1 in the morning. Could it happen? Yes. But it's not common knowledge. So I think this noise ordinance would really help that.
Not an exception in good knowledge, too.
Anyway, we'll discuss more of this later.
Yeah.
Is there any other comments from anyone?
I would just like to remind everyone about Martin's Chapel's barbecue this weekend.
Yes, thank you, appreciate that. The weather's good for it.
Hopefully, we got new fans under the pavilion, so we're all set.
All right, to adjourn, thank you. Motion to adjourn. And we're done.
See?